What's happening, my beautiful people? Welcome back to the channel. Top 5 formations. I've got you covered. Full transparency, this is my list. And it can shift, it's early, but you're asking and I'm answering. If you found this helpful, feed the algorithm, drop a like, and comment below which formations have you been using and which formations did I leave off? At number 5, I'm looking at the 4-1-2-1-2. Ignore the chemistry. I just want to showcase what this could, will, should look like as opposed to going through all the custom tactics. Second variation, I've tried both. I've experimented. I still prefer the narrow approach. And as for the pros, shall we begin? Attacking strength. Players are moving. There is fluidity, quick passing. You are going to be able to put pressure on your opposition, which builds into overwhelming the opponent. I have not used a formation that has allowed me to score so many goals so quickly. And you can just feel the soul being almost ripped out of the opposition as you're offloading and onloading, and players are moving, overlapping runs. There's a lot of pressure play. I call it the rebound press, where when you lose the ball, because you had so many players pushing forward, they're instantly on a pressure on possession loss or a pressure on heavy touch. They're there. And it's difficult if you're on the reverse side to try to pass out of there. You may have guessed it, but the tiki-taka goodness, the greatness, those types of intricacies, you kind of need them to be completely transparent. If you're gonna play narrow, you have to be able to feel comfortable with a lot of tight angles, quick passing. And in this title in particular, one of the best ways to unlock space, and if you got the right players with some play styles, you can integrate. You need to be able to move the ball quickly. Little touch pass here, touch pass there. That sparkle through ball merchants. If that's part of your DNA, 4-1-2-1-2, absolutely. Get it to that center attacking mid, or even the center mids if they're taking space, and they are going to be able to feed the two strikers. I call it the triangle of doom up front. Last of the pros, the speed of the attack. And I've talked about being able to overwhelm, being able to put pressure, apply pressure. Players are motivated. As for the cons, there are build-up concerns. You don't have that width, you don't have easy outlets, and if you make a mistake in the 4-1-2-1-2, anywhere in your defensive half, you will be countered. You're gonna find yourself poorly positioned. I call it the smash or pass, which is in no regard to a Tinder or some sort of online dating app. You will score a lot of goals and beat the barnyard door off some of your opponents, but you can also concede quickly. You can go down early. So the results can be a little bit hot and cold in this formation, but it's so fun to use. Number 4, 4-3-2-1. And I've always called this a draft formation. Well, we're back into motion with a little bit of a different vibe, a different energy with FC24 and the 4-3-2-1. The Trivela, if that's part of your offensive game plan, this is the perfect formation. It's just heavenly for opening up those angles, and that is the easiest long shot to score at this point of recording in FC24. They are flying into the back of the net. And if you want those tutorials, I'm putting a lot of that content, the majority actually, on my second channel, where everything is tips, tricks, unlockables, the key details. Typically, I would talk about the 4-3-2-1 and say it's a little more one-dimensional. I call it a draft formation. For whatever reason, with this year's gameplay, I'm getting more out of it in terms of being able to control games, not feeling as rushed going forward or chasing back. Counter alignment, and this is both offensively and defensively. If you have to counter press, you got bodies there. And if you get a good takeaway, again, you have offensive options that you can use and abuse, and they are ready to do the job. As for the cons, starts with the midfield positioning. If these guys are stepping or sitting, they're not aligned, or they're not credible, or they're not getting along, they don't have that in-game virtual chemistry, it shows. And some of this is just the personnel that you choose. But if your midfield is wide open in a 4-3-2-1, it shifts dramatically from being a formation that has balance to everyone's going forward, and then you're hoping for the best on the defensive end. Depends how you take it, but this formation, I don't feel, is for a traditionalist. If you're someone who wants a lot of structure with the way that you play the game, the switching of the pitch, a little more mechanical with some of the build-up, methodical, if you will, the 4-3-2-1 does not play into that type of setup, that type of approach to the virtual pitch and everything included in FC24. You can't tell me this team's not set up clean for a 4-2-3-1 classic. Pros, Got to start with, if you're learning the game, this is the formation you should begin with. Defensively solid, it's sound. You can count on being able to get additional help. Some would say defensively OP. Players are where they're supposed to be. It feels natural, it feels organic, it stays true. It is a consistent, reliable experience on the virtual pitch. And the spacing is undeniable. All this makes for an easier experience and a fantastic way to, again, I reiterate, learn the game, master the game, figure out if this is where you want to build or where you want to shift from. It's just such a balanced starting formation. Cons, and you might have seen it with my team, you have to feed into the meta to a certain degree. You're not offensively going to have the same options, the same depth, the same versatility. You only have the one striker. And if you're using, let's say, a cheap beast or overpowered squad, you don't have some meta players, you could easily find yourself just on the defensive for the entirety of the matchup because you're losing too many 50-50s. 4-2-2, and this formation is coming on strong. For the pros, you will win ugly games, and those are the results that you need. I found myself in the 4-2-2 playing game on game on game. I was tired. I wasn't playing my best FC 24. A lot of things weren't clicking. I look up at the scoreboard, I'm up 3-0. This formation does such a good job of closing gaps, outlasting, controlling. And if you have two holding mids that are dominant, such as a Gravenberch and a Jude Bellingham, as you saw with my squad, I can feel the difficulty and frustration from my opponents trying to break down the 4-2-2. I found myself having additional time on the ball just because of how the offense is sort of set up and where the players are naturally positioned on the virtual pitch. And this allowed me to control the game plan. Whether it was a lot of possession, I was moving the ball quickly, I wanted to be aggressive. You can press in the 4-2-2, and in some circumstances it even could look like a 4-2-4. As for the cons, I call the 4-2-2 the mechanic of formations, or the machine. I just feel offensively basic. It seems routine in many ways, and you might get some expression with the skills, but a lot of your approach play will be structured when you're going forward. And it's very mechanical, which I don't always love. A little bit of give or take, some additional movement. I like that creativity, the forms of expression, and this formation in particular doesn't always result in that type of experience. But again, with results, and this is a results business, I'm locking down, folks. And you may have guessed it. You've seen social media. You've played against it. You've played with it. But the 4-4-2, it's got that extracurricular. And as it stands, there's not a more versatile formation on the marketplace. There's a lot you can do here. Would you like to play more aggressive? Do you want to be more passive? You can have 3 or 4 different tactical setups with the 4-4-2, and it can look and feel completely different. That sort of builds for, again, the versatility. Build up strength. I'm able to alleviate so much pressure in this formation with the fullbacks, then with the wingers, who often will be checking back, and then having the 2 strikers up front, striker to striker through ball, some of the interchangeability, the way they can play off each other, and then again having those overlapping runs, that additional spacing. You always feel as if you have an outlet, you can resurface, you can recycle, you can replenish. So what are the cons, you ask? Personnel is going to matter. There is some risk in your center mids if they push forward too quickly, and the same with the center backs, because these players are going to be your core, your foundation to this formation. If they end up being flat, or again, if you don't have meta players in key positions, you can find yourself wide open and conceding goals. Those are my 5 formations that you need to put into motion. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section. As always, I'll have a lot more coming out ASAP.